My background is a registered architect, and I've been responsible for actually developing a lot of the course material for this particular course. So the course itself is actually, from a design perspective, actually covers the REBA plan of work relative to DFMA processes. It's a different way of working, and you may find that you're actually doing concurrent tasks rather than consecutive tasks. The full course also covers construction industrialization process, which looks at manufacture logistics, site assembly, maintenance, and obviously post-occupancy evaluation. Also covers quite a range of DFMA case studies. You may find that actually after what you've heard this morning, or after you've actually done the fuller course, your actual response to this particular question may actually differ. From experience, what we found is that people don't seem to realise that some of what they're actually doing actually relates to DFMA and MMC.
I'm a partner at Hawkins Brown Architects, a practice of about 275 people with studios in the UK and the United States. In helping to design the training, we were able to include matters that we've been discussing as a group of the sort of things we felt the people in our practices needed to know. So, for example, it was clear to us that the concept design stage was critical. If you don't start off thinking how the building will be built, it's too late to bring in MMC, particularly Category 1 volumetric, at a later stage after planning approval. This led to thinking about the process of optioneering. Designers need to know enough about the available off-site systems to be able to rule them in or out. So these are things like logistics, market availability, site access, and so on. This is one of our builders at Hawkins Brown, and I think the really interesting thing about this is that we're doing this with Mark Farmer and Cast, and chatting to him the other day, he reckons that we're maybe up to about 60% pre-manufactured value on this, but it's not a volumetric building, and we're doing that by having an innovative solution that Mace, who the contractor, have brought over from Australia, high-rise system, which integrates the precast concrete slab with the curtain wall. And we achieve that because there are quite fine tolerances, as you'll understand, in putting up the curtain wall, but that is managed by a quite clever system of props. So this is quite an exciting sort of innovative way of achieving MMC. So it's not necessarily about introducing modern methods. I think it's about thinking about how it's built right from the beginning and including modern methods of construction in your thinking, and then making sure that you're not designing the building in such a way that they're designed out.
I'm Dave Emery. I work with the Supply Chain School as a consultant. My background is an architectural technologist, and for 20 years or more I've been focusing on technology using BIM and virtual construction and so on.
My name's Matt Wood. I'm the National Sales Manager for Rapid Response Solutions. I've been involved in the lifting and logistics industry, mainly in construction, throughout the past 20 years. And I've gone from working on various different projects such as Channel Tunnel Rail Link, the Millennium Dome, and the development of Canary Wharf. And my first involvement in offsite construction was a modular hotel in 1999. So I had quite a bit of experience through the years of lifting logistics and offsite. Okay, some great work being done here. So let's go through a few of these, shall we? Matt, I'll get you to comment on a few. So route to site, that's probably a key one, isn't it? Some of the issues around that. Yeah, it is, absolutely. I mean, generally what you would find, your problems with a route to site are going to be probably within the last couple of miles, because generally the A roads, the motorways, they're not going to be your issue. So it's the beginning of the journey and the end of the journey which are the ones that need the most consideration. And what you've got there are the actual in situ places of five small bungalows. Now, what I'll do and run through here is sort of a bit of the process and consideration of working out how to actually get those onto site and deliver those. You've got your usual stuff. You've got parked cars, telegraph lines. You've got other works going on.
There'll be some discussion in your material today about aligning the MMC procurement process with the REBA plan of work stages. And what we have to do with MMC is get really early contractor involvement, early involvement of the manufacturers and the contractors and the designers, right at the strategy stage of the REBA plan of work. Treat MMC as part of your procurement strategy. Get involved really early on and talk to all of the interested parties early on. That's the key messages.
There's an awful lot of dimensions around offsite procurement and procuring generally. So whether that be how and when you identify the business need, what you then do to shape the sourcing strategy and the dynamics associated with that, your supply chain, how you assess them, and equally how you move into award. But the hub are trying to put some definition around it, and they've adopted what's called the 5 capitals of sustainable development approach to try and put some shape around that. So they're looking at criteria that extends beyond capital cost, picks up operational cost, and some of the other themes that you've picked up in your review.
Alex Himes, partner at Alinea Cost Consultants. I head up our residential division as well as championing the offsite part of the business. So looking at a number of systems, we've worked with volumetric, lots of DFMA, CLT, understanding client drivers. Is it speed? Is it sustainability? Is it cost? And obviously then understanding what that means in terms of system applications, what systems will provide you the speed, what systems are more sustainable, and then once you know what system could apply to the set of kind of rules that the client set out and what's in his appraisal, then you can understand who can deliver those.
If you were a QS, that's what the RIBA plan of work says for architects, but if you were a quantity surveyor or cost consultant, what are the things that you would be hoping to establish or pin down at stage 1?
So myself, Stuart Brisbane, I work with the Supply Chain School, and we've helped develop this.
My name's Ken Farnan. I work for a company called Cooley Construction Services. I've been in the industry like 22 years.
When you're looking at project management, there's probably 3 different types that you can have. You can be with the client, you can be with the contractor, or you can be with the manufacturer. Now that you know where you are, what do you think your roles and responsibilities are as a client advisor, if you're working in construction or if you're working in the manufacturing? What are the sort of key things that matter to you? I think one of the things that when we're doing this workshop, one of the reasons that we're identifying there's at least 3, if not more, project managers, but part of it is the communication, and it is looking at what the drivers are at each individual time.
I think there's a wealth of knowledge with the suppliers and manufacturers that's untapped, and there's a real opportunity of utilising that knowledge very early on in the project, and that's where that whole early engagement piece has real benefits.
My name's Steve Hayes. I'm a on-site project manager. I've been in the industry over 40 years. My background is an apprentice served carpenter and joiner, and I've worked my way up over those years through traditional build. And over about the last 4 years, I've got involved in modular construction. One thing you cannot do is sit back and wait for the module just to turn up on site. You have to know what the build is about. You have to go to your factories and you have to get involved with the teams that are actually building these units. So,
and I think it's important as well that, you know, the guys now who are working on site understand some of how factory processes work and how some of the things that go on site can dramatically affect the factory. You know, some of the obvious ones are the non-communication of changes on site back to the factory, or the late decisions that are forced on the factory. Another one might be the rate of delivery and assembly.
The idea is a great idea. Get it right in the factory and it will go together. But you've got to get the site teams when it comes to site to understand that it's all going to go in quickly and they've got to follow through quickly.